We get to see the maple trees, maple sugar and the maple leaves. We get the biggest wheat fields growing tall. In Canada, where we see the reversing falls. In Canada, we get to see them all.
And the troubles continue for Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party as we remain in the headlines. On Monday, one staunch Trudeau supporter, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, resigned in a post on ex-Twitter. This came on the same day she was expected to deliver the fall economic statement in the House of Commons. And in her resignation letter to Trudeau, Freeland cites tensions over tariffs and the deficit, as well as what she calls costly political gimmicks like the goods and tax GST rebate checks. This resignation comes right after Federal Housing Minister Sean Fraser announced he will not be seeking a re-election, saying he wishes to spend more time with his family.
Some of my closest families in recent years have been diagnosed with cancer and survived. They have suffered heart attacks and undergone triple bypass surgeries. While these examples have led to remarkable rebounds, other family members, like many others with whom I was very close, have passed away. I've seen my wife, who is impressive beyond measure and who has borne a disproportionate share of the work in raising our family, not just bring our kids into the world, but also become an incredible and loving mother who would do anything for her children while she still manages to juggle parenting, work, and a PhD to boot, through the most difficult and joyful personal experiences imaginable. I have become acutely aware of the finite nature of the time that we have with the people that we love. You blink and you miss it. So I'm going to spend a little more time with the people that I care about most.
After this latest resignation, there are renewed calls for the PM to resign, even coming from Jagmeet Singh, a former ally who's previously helped Trudeau to survive non-confidence votes in the House of Commons. Poilievre continues to call Trudeau weak and self-serving. The fall economic plan was tabled in Parliament despite the minister's absence, revealing a deficit of over $60 billion, up from the spring estimate of $40 billion. Some of the additional spending includes border security, as well as more funding to the RCMP for the gun buyback program announced last week.
Liberals having nothing to say about their fall economic statement after its author, Chrystia Freeland's shock early morning resignation, which left finance officials unsure if it was even going to be tabled. But when it was, it painted a grim picture of the country's finances. The deficit ballooning to nearly $62 billion, up dramatically from an estimated $40 billion in this spring's budget, thanks in part to $24.2 billion in newly announced spending. The most notable, $1.3 billion for the Canadian Border Services Agency and the RCMP to help secure the border, addressing a key demand from Donald Trump to avoid the 25% tariff. The RCMP getting an additional $600 million to move forward with a gun buyback program and billions to attract new AI and business investment.
And some are optimistic about the budget and spending, highlighting economic investments and opportunities.
It's great to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
As a tax professional, what particularly interested you with this update?
Yeah, certainly as a tax person, we saw a number of things that were introduced today that maybe have been leaked a bit earlier, and so I had a bit of time to read. Certainly the enhancements to the Scientific Research and Experimental Development Program, so the SR&ED, really designed to motivate investment in capital, designed to invest in research and development in this country. And again, expanding them to the to certain Canadian public corporations to allow larger organizations to participate in this program and benefit from the higher investment tax credit rate. And in addition, expanding the thresholds to participate in it from $3 million up to $4.5 million, right? So there's a very powerful things.
Many expected Justin Trudeau to replace Freeland with Bank of Canada Mark Carney, but instead today, Dominic LeBlanc, who has served in cabinet since 2015, was sworn in at Rideau Hall, becoming the Minister of Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs. He will also remain in his role as Minister of Public Safety.
Des affaires intergouvernementales, j'ai l'intention évidemment de continuer. I
intend to continue working with the premiers. These are essential allies for us when it comes to the threats of potential tariffs from the United States. So this is a job I'm eager to continue doing.
And how much does this shake trying to work with the Americans going forward, seeing Chrystia Freeland, who stick-handled so much of it in the last Trump presidency, no longer being a part of cabinet, and we know Trump, he goes after weakness. Do you think he sees this as a weak moment in the Trudeau government?
I certainly don't propose to speak for President Trump or his administration. I was at the dinner at Mar-a-Lago 2.5 weeks ago and saw two leaders focused on a number of priorities, both in the Canada-U.S. context, but talking about global issues as well. I've continued to have discussions with incoming Secretary Lutnick, for example, the Commerce Secretary, around border security, was involved in meetings with senior officials in the incoming administration today. So the one thing I think the American administration will respect is a government that's focused on our common priorities, on the shared issues around border security, economic prosperity. Those are the issues that I'll work on very happily with our American counterparts once they're sworn in.
Justin has reportedly denied rumors that he will be resigning, and prorogue of Parliament could be possible. Proroguing is a parliamentary tool that halts government activities with no sittings in Parliament, no debates or votes on laws. This move would need approval from the Governor-General and essentially clear the way for a new session of Parliament.
Gulf also faces a slew of resignation calls.
Hey, I'm calling on Justin Trudeau to resign. He has to go.
How can you say he needs to resign, but then you're not telling us what you're going to do for non-competence?
I'm telling you that all options are on the table.
Right.
Mr. Trudeau is being held in office by one man, Jagmeet Singh.
Calls to quit are also coming from members of the Liberal caucus. And while earlier today there were reports that Trudeau would consider it, other sources say that's not the case. Another reported consideration on the table is Trudeau proroguing Parliament, which would prevent his administration from falling.
I think Parliament has to be prorogued, but it has to be prorogued in such a way with consent and collaboration with other members of Parliament to get the supply bills through so that the government continues to function as we head towards probably a leadership campaign of some sort and convention. The Liberal Party, however, has restructured its constitution, and it is not clear or obvious to anyone in the party, let alone MPs, how a new leader would be selected.
Freeland's resignation also overshadowed the second provincial premiers meeting over the past weeks to address the Trump administration's tariff threats and border security demands. Speaker of the premiers, Ontario Minister Doug Ford, told reporters that premiers would work together on these issues and with using the strong Team Canada approach, despite what he calls chaos in Ottawa.
That's true. All 13 provincial and territorial leaders coming together here today, trying to concentrate on what was supposed to be an agenda dealing with those Trump tariffs and border security. But Chrystia Freeland's resignation certainly kind of overshadowed what was happening here today and everything that they were trying to talk about.
Today has been an important reminder of how critical it is that premiers work together. No matter what's happening in Ottawa, all of us premiers will remain united as Team Canada to provide steady and stable leadership.
Admitting to what he called chaos in the nation's capital, Premier Ford led the meeting of First Ministers in Toronto, overshadowed by Federal Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland's decision to step down. Ford saying there was a brief call with Freeland on speakerphone, but not much discussion beyond that. Instead, the group was focused on the issues of the day, the threat of tariffs from President-elect Donald Trump and border security.
Tariffs are not good for anyone in North America. And to get into a broad-based tariff war for Canadians with the United States of America is not good for any of the jurisdictions, I think, that are represented up here.
Trudeau spoke for the first time since Freeland's resignation during a fundraiser held at the Laurier Club in Ottawa, where he gave a speech thanking Liberals for their hard work and dedication and his personal gratitude for having had the distinct honor of serving as Prime Minister over the past 9 years.
That is focused on cuts, cutting the services and help that Canadians count on.
Pierre Poilievre is uninterested in building more homes, delivering vital supports, creating good jobs, or even, as we saw with his opposition to our GST tax break, he's opposed to even cutting taxes. That's a given with the Conservative Party. But what makes Poilievre different is that he's willing to actively bet against Canadians and Canada. He says Canada is broken while actually trying his damnedest to break it. See, we're not living in simple times. The world is increasingly complex, unstable, and dangerous. And in this new global reality, we must all pull together. J'adore les Canadiens.
I love Canadians.
And following the event, Trudeau held an emergency caucus meeting behind closed doors.
This is video of Chrystia Freeland seen here in purple and who is staying on as the MP for her Toronto riding, leaving tonight's emergency caucus meeting, where Justin Trudeau spoke to Liberal MPs behind closed doors. Freeland's exit from cabinet brings the total number of ministers who've stepped down from cabinet to 9.
Former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland was greeted by a standing ovation at an evening caucus meeting, according to sources. The meeting lasted an hour, with Trudeau addressing MPs and then listening to them.
Minister, why don't you resign?
He emerged seemingly unfazed, despite division that clearly remains.
Canada, you've ruined our country!
We're not united. There's still a number of our members who feel we need a change in leadership. I'm one of those.
All I'm going to say is he has my full support. I'm not going to talk about what happened in caucus, and that's it.
Later in the evening, the Prime Minister addressed a Liberal fundraiser, where he acknowledged the cloud hanging over the room.
It's obviously been an eventful day.
So this is a fast-moving story, and we're awaiting updates, including whether a new Liberal leader will be chosen and how that process would unfold. So stay tuned for more Canadian Drain on Political Drain Canadian Edition.